He's done this show before, but this is a really interesting story for a lot of different reasons. First of all, extremely successful businessman, but he used to be in the Republican Party. He used to be running as a Republican. Now, I've had other candidates who used to be Democrats and they run as Republicans. I've had other Republicans that are Republicans that now run as Democrats. But Ron Quince is now running as an independent, and he has left the Republican Party. And I'll show this for you. He's on the front of My Vegas magazine, a very successful businessman, a good family man. I've always liked Ron very much. And we're going to be seeing a lot more of Ron on this show. And Ron joins us right now in studio. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hey, Brian. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man.
Looking sharp as always, by the way.
Well, thank you.
And I appreciate you being here, Ron. Let me start off by asking you this to give people a little, obviously we're going to give people a little bit of background on you, but the first question I want to ask you is why did you leave the Republican Party?
Well, first of all, I've been a supporter of the Republican Party for quite a long time. I started probably when I was 18 years old with the Ronald Reagan era. And I like their principles and I stood by it. And then suddenly when I get involved in politics and becoming a politician myself, one of the things that I did is I went to Washington, D.C., kind of like a job interview. They told me that they are not focused on the state of Nevada because of the numbers of nonpartisan and Democratic voters. And they're not going to support any candidates, whoever comes out in the primary. So now I was like, okay, so technically, if you're not going to support anybody, isn't it supposed to be if you're running for office, the reason that you have a party? So that's why you have the party support.
Right.
But in this situation, if I'm the one that's going to support myself to be elected, then what is the purpose of me having a party? I asked myself, and then I have a lot of, I spoke to family, friends, and I asked myself, like, am I really a true Republican? Because I'm not really too much to the right. Because if you're too much to the right,
you're not like pro MAGA.
Yeah, you're ISIS. You cannot be too much to the left. Then now
Right.
you're communist. So I'm more like in the middle. And when I thought about it and look at the people that I'm going to be representing in District 1, I realized that, hey, I need to run as a nonpartisan because even a nonpartisan voters have their voice too.
But do you feel, Ron, that, because I feel like, and I talk to a lot of Republicans that feel like if they're moderate Republicans like you, or you're in the middle, that you can't be a Republican in 2024 if you're not all in Donald Trump, that they're gonna ostracize you from the party.
And
it's hard to win.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I hate is I just don't like the negativeness, the name calling. Politics is supposed to be a secret thing, but now it becomes like a circus. Even inside the Republican Party, they don't get along, and we've seen that with Johnson being the Speaker of the House now.
Right.
It used to be McCarthy, and then if you are not a party in one, then technically how are you going to get your other voters out there to be part of your party? Or how are you going to get other people to come out and vote for you
I agree.
if you guys are not even all together?
And I remember John McCain taking the microphone from that woman when he was running for office, and she's called him an Arab or something, and he says, "No, ma'am, Obama's a decent man. We just disagree on policy." And I said to myself, wow, what a good man. We've lost that way.
And we lost the common courtesy. And that's one of the things that, I look at the Republican Party. They are so focused. I went to Nashville, Tennessee, when they have a big fundraising, and Brian, I gave money to the Republican Party, both state, county, and nationwide. And they always tell me, Ron, you know what? We need the minority, which is Hispanic, the blacks, and the Asian support. How do we get them? So I told them, well, let me tell you a story. My mother-in-law has been in this country for 40 years, finally became an American citizen. When she walked down the stairs on the federal building, the first person that came to her is a person from the Democratic Party trying to register her to vote. She didn't register because she said, you know what, I believe I'm a nonpartisan, which she is. I gotta weigh it out which one is, good for me. But imagine those 299 people that just became a citizen. Now they're registered as a Democrat, and they're gonna vote Democrat.
Of course. I want to talk to you, of course, a little bit about your history coming to this country as an immigrant, but I have to ask you about this first from a national
Okay, go
standpoint.
ahead.
What did you make about that debate Thursday night?
You know what? I think it was a circus. One of the things that I'm hearing from people, and it's just the only thing they do is like bashing to one another. But a lot of people have some concern about Biden. Uh, Now, my nonpartisan constituents are kind of concerned that if they don't like Trump, they don't like Biden, then who they gonna vote for?
It's a
So
good
that's the
question.
question. And so now, hopefully, the second debate's gonna be a lot better
If there
because
is one.
yeah, we want the people to come out and vote. So I told them, well, if you're just gonna vote because of the president candidate, you know what? It's a double-edged sword.
Right.
You don't vote, it's gonna affect you. You
Mhm.
vote, it's gonna affect you. Why don't you come out and vote? I don't know in the presidential ballot if there's a none of the above,
Right.
but I know in the congressional ballot there's only the congressional candidate. Come out and vote and elect the first nonpartisan congressman in District 1 and here in Nevada because I don't think we ever elected one.
Yeah, and you're right about that. And you're also right about the fact that there's a lot of moderates out there that don't want to vote for either candidate now, which I do find interesting. I actually think that hurts Trump more than Biden. Do you think that the Democrat Party replaces Joe Biden? Because even though Joe Biden said today he plans on staying in the race, there are people that have said that they've had meetings behind closed doors and they could be looking for a replacement. What do you think happens?
You know what? If he's gonna stay, then he's gonna stay because he wants that one-on-one battle with Trump. But let me tell you, this is my observation. This is only my opinion,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure both parties are. Well, they attack me anyway.
Kind of like me.
So I think if there's another candidate that a little bit younger and a little bit more energetic,
Gavin Newsom.
I think
Yeah.
Trump has no chance.
Really?
I think the nonpartisan are gonna vote whoever
You might
they
be
put
right.
in.
See, I sort of agree with you on that. And some people are poo-pooing Gavin Newsom. I have three names,
Mhm.
and I think two out of the three probably aren't interested. Maybe Hillary might be. Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, who I
Mhm.
don't think is interested, and Gavin Newsom. I say Gavin Newsom with Gretchen Whitmer as his vice president. I believe they win. So I agree with you. I think there's a lot of moderate Republicans out there and this isn't my opinion, but it's theirs that I've talked to. I said, listen, I don't want to vote for Donald Trump, but do I really want to go to the polls and vote for this guy too? Talking about Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
So they need somebody with some energy.
And that's what they tell me too. A lot of people tell me that, you know what, hey, when they ask me, are you a Republican or a Democrat? Because,
Yeah.
for some reason, that's the only people know. And I said, no, I'm running as an independent. And they're like, oh, this country, we usually vote either the evil or the less evil.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
And I said, and then why do we have to do that? Why do you have to pick the evil or the less evil, or you
Yeah.
can actually pick the good ones who actually can make a difference in your life?
But I agree with you. So I understand why some people might say that. But I sometimes disagree with that because I don't see Joe Biden as an evil guy. And I'm not speaking as a Democrat. I certainly, you know my position.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah.
I lean to the left on social issues. I'm very anti-Donald Trump. But I don't think Joe Biden is a bad guy. I don't think he's evil. Yes, he's old. Yes, he had a bad debate performance. I understand some people don't like some of his policies. I get all that stuff. But I don't see Joe Biden as like an evil person. I really, truly can look you in the eye right now, Ron, and say I really think Donald Trump is an evil, bad person. I really feel that way. And listen, I'm not saying there aren't Democrats out there that aren't bad people either. Of course there are.
Mhm.
I've criticized Ilhan Omar. I've criticized Rashida Tlaib. I think they're bad people, right? I just don't think Joe Biden's a bad guy. I think a lot of people are hesitant in the middle because of his debate performance, maybe, or they might think he's too old, which is why he needs to get out there and do more press conferences. He needs to get out there, and the vice president needs to get out there more. I think from a campaign standpoint, they're making a lot of mistakes.
I think so too. And also, I always tell people that, you know what, maybe if you guys are not happy with the presidential ballot or the presidential candidate,
Mhm.
maybe you look at the bottom of the ballots, because there's a lot of good people out there that's running. It's a big election. We have mayor race, we have uh, judges races, we
Sure.
have U.S. Senate that's
Yeah.
also in the hot seat, and
Yep.
we have the Congress. And I said, look at those things, because at the end of the day, the president of the United States is just not going to run the country. They still need the Congress. They still need the U.S. Senate, to provide the laws for him to sign. And those are the things that you guys need to take a look at.
Yeah, no question about that. Again, if you're just joining us, Ron Quincy is running for candidate for Congress in Nevada District 1. Last time I interviewed him, he was a registered Republican. Last time I interviewed him, he was running as a Republican. He is now running nonpartisan, which I got to tell you, there's a lot of other Republicans out there that feel like their party has left them and now they leave the party, and Ron is certainly one of them. So Ron, there are a lot of attacks, sadly, on those that are immigrants that come into this country, whether they're legal or not. You came into this country as an immigrant. You worked hard to get to where you are. You're an extremely successful businessman. You have a wonderful family. You're a good father. You're a good husband, all that stuff. But what do you talk a little bit about that and the attacks on so many that are immigrants, whether they come to this country legal or not? You hear some from the far right that make it sound like everybody that's in this country illegally is going to rape your kids, and and then listen, the extreme left. There's a lot of people in this country that do not feel like if you're not legal, you shouldn't be allowed to have a bank account. You shouldn't be allowed to have a driver's license. So I think you can go both ways on this one. What are your thoughts?
Well, as from an immigrant standpoint, let me tell you something. And I came here legally. This country is built by immigrants, and we can go
Right.
from the history in the past.
Yep.
We can talk about before the slavery, the Irish immigrants that came in here, and after that, of course, we have the Africans that came in here, and then after that, the Chinese people that helped them build the railroad. The Filipinos, my people, actually started planting in Hawaii and also in Fresno. And then, of course, now we have the Mexicans, and of course, now I think we have the Venezuelan. This country is built with immigrants. And let me tell you something from an immigrant point of view. And I came in this country when I was a kid, probably like 5 years old. Went to Los Angeles. We decided to move to Arizona. And I feel that because, when I graduated high school, there's only 2 minority kids in my high school.
Right.
Myself and this African-American guy that played football.
Right.
And the reason I was there because we happened to live there. You need an immigrant to be here in the United States because one, I don't think any Americans like the job that the immigrants do. Let me tell you something. When I was in my 16, I was working at McDonald's. And I don't think anybody wants to work at McDonald's. I don't think you're working at McDonald's in high school.
Sophomore in high school, and your father, your family obviously did very well for themselves. But I find that very interesting, and that's a positive where you were working at 16.
And that's what I was telling everybody that what people always think that Ron Quince, this guy is probably like born with a golden spoon, and his daddy gave him $1 million to get his business going. Well, let me tell you something. That's not the story. My real story is, of course, I'm an immigrant, just like a lot of people that came in this country.
Yep.
Work at McDonald's. After that, work at Jack in the Box. For some reason, they saw my potential. They made me a store manager age of 19.
Really?
They sent me to school to study, so they paid for my education.
Jack in the Box
Jack
did.
in the Box did. Jack in the Box Corporation.
So your father didn't pay for your education?
No.
That's incredible.
Jack in the Box did. After I finished at Jack in the Box, then I stayed there for another 4 years because of my contract. Kind of like, we send you to school, you have to stay additional
Stick
4
with
years.
us,
If
yeah.
you don't, we want our money back.
Right.
I hit the ceiling at Jack in the Box, like that there's no way for me to go anywhere. So now I decided, and my contract was done, decided to open my own business. Opened my own business, became, an accountant, started putting business card in people's car just to get clients. Because I didn't have any clients. I'm new in town, and nobody knows who
And
I am.
how old are you when you were doing this?
I was doing that when I was 28 years old.
So still pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah. So putting business cards and things like that, worried that, oh my God, at that time, Jack in the Box paid me $120,000 because I manage multiple stores. And to me, that at that time, it's like, it's a lot of money. I have a
Right.
mortgage, I have a car payment.
Right.
But I took that risk, like what I'm doing now, to start my own business because I think it's going to be better for the future. I did that, got involved with a lot of investors, became part of an private equity firm. Now what we do is like we buy businesses, we fix them, we made it profitable, and then we sell it back to our competitors. So looking through that timeline, and people see me now, I always tell them, no, I'm the one that's living the American dream who was given an opportunity. There's a lot of people work at that Jack in the Box, a lot of immigrants, and they picked me to be their manager and actually Send them to
I didn't
school.
know that. I didn't know that about
Yeah,
you.
you probably just think, hey, you know what? This guy is just going with a no. I started that way. So when people go like,
Yeah.
you know what, Ron, the American dream that you guys had before, that's dead. I said no. I'm the proof of the American dream because I'm an
You
immigrant.
can do it, and you did it the right way, and you worked hard,
Yeah.
and nobody gave you
And
anything.
let me
Yeah.
tell you let me tell you something about the people that people that actually an immigrant just like me. They came in here, sure, they work as a housekeeper at MGM, but you know their kids, they don't work as a housekeeper at MGM. They're actually, some of them are lawyers,
Right.
some of them are bankers,
Mhm.
because what happened with this country is, in other countries, if you're a blacksmith, your son, you're gonna be a blacksmith. If you're a maid, your daughter's gonna be a maid. Not in this country. In this country, they give us opportunity. Maybe not for us, but our kids in the future are not gonna be the same thing what we're doing now.
Is it frustrating to you, though, Ron, with that background that you have? And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that about you. That's pretty admirable. When you see some of these other people out there, like the Eric Trumps and the Donald Trump Juniors, those are people that I actually do believe they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And then, they get that, and then you get the same. That's got to be frustrating for you when people don't know your history.
Absolutely. And what happened, the way they look at it, like if let me tell you a perfect story, which is like it's gonna blow your mind. You're gonna go crazy. I got invited to go to Texas for those Republican donors.
Yeah.
You know, the one that.
Mhm.
So I went in there. First of all, they messed up the time. I got there like an hour early.
Yeah.
So at first, in this mansion, and I was thinking, oh my God, are they gonna make me, like park the cars like ballet, or are they gonna make me serve food? Because I'm the only minority in the whole place.
Right.
The dinner started. There's 50 of us. This lady next to me told me, and I'm the only minority in the whole place. The bartender, I'm the only minority, period. Told me, how much money did you pay to be sitting next to me, to be in this party? Instead of saying, welcome, I'm glad you're here, because we need minorities in our party. She asked me how much money I paid to be sitting next to her.
That's pretty offensive.
So you know what I told her? Enough. I paid enough money to be here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, she told me that, I'm going to tell my friends that I have a Filipino friend. Suddenly, we became friends.
That's crazy, man.
So I don't understand when people say that.
Wow.
And, I've taken a lot
Yeah.
of, I would probably say, I've been discriminated in the past. And I understand that either young, minority, but I don't let that affect me. The beauty about it is, in this country, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Filipino,
matter.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
because the Constitution of the United States put us together.
But I remember, I agree with you. I remember I asked you this question 2 years ago, because I remember doing this interview with you 2 years ago when you were running as a Republican. And the thoughts in my mind, and I think I said this after the interview too to your friend, I said, he doesn't really sound like a Republican. He sounds more like an independent. I said that to your friend after the interview, and I had asked you this question 2 years ago, and I'm going to ask it to you
Go
again
ahead.
because it's exactly what we're talking about. Why do you think there are so fewer minorities in the Republican Party than the Democrat Party?
Because they don't, I'm going to tell you, they don't support them. I'm a
That's sad.
minority. I'm a minority. And we talked about that 2 years ago. If
Yeah.
I'm getting any support from the Republican Party, they didn't support them. I bet you right now, if I go as a Democrat, they will throw in a money. to me.
Ron, why?
Yeah.
Why didn't they support you? Why?
I don't know.
Is it racism because
I
you're
don't know.
Filipino? I'm gonna.
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give you my opinion,
Okay.
and you tell me whether you agree or not. Yes, I think that. Am I saying every Republican is a race? Absolutely not. I've never
course.
said every Trump supporters. I would never talk like that. However, I think there's a reason why there are a few minorities. They don't support you because I believe the majority of those on the far right, they want it to look like a white base. That's what they want. The Democratic Party, they're not perfect. I'm not saying they are, but they want a pool of all sorts of different people, all sorts of different minorities. They welcome it, and it's why the Republican Party barely gets 15% of the black vote. That, to me, that's what it is. I'm not saying every Republican's racist. I wouldn't say that. And I would also say that the Republican Party as a whole, their platform, policy-wise, does not help minorities as a whole.
Because the problem with the Republican Party, they're focused on the policy, but they don't focus with people.
Right.
The Democratic Party focus on people, but they don't focus on policies. All right? So we agree on that. And in my district, Congressional District 1, our population is very diverse. We have 46% Hispanic population, or I'm sorry, Latino in my district. We have 10% Asian, and we have 10% African American. So this is a very diverse group.
Right.
I remember one of the candidate one time they asked them from the Republican Party, you got to have a heavy Hispanic population. Do you speak Spanish? And this guy, he's a businessman. You know what he said? I speak kitchen Spanish. I speak Spanish fluently. My wife is Mexican. My daughters are Mexicans. Well, they're half, but they're still minority.
Can I ask you, your wife being Mexican, when Donald Trump said, these Mexicans, they're rapists and they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people, that had to offend your wife.
Oh
That
yeah,
had to
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why, that's why she's not a registered Republican.
Right, right. Will she be voting for Joe Biden?
No, I don't know yet because
Yeah.
I always tease her. I'm like, if I see Trump or I see Biden on TV, I always say, oh, that's your Uncle Biden or your Uncle Donald
But
Trump.
this is a tough situation for
It's
you.
very hard for
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
and that's good because the thing is like this is what the country became great because if we go in one side and just do the other side or vice versa, then we're as worse as North Korea and Russia.
What do you make, though, of the Yangs of the world and those that are trying to start this independent party? I think it's called the Forward Party. And Yang did my show a few months back. Nice man. I really enjoyed talking to him. Do you think that can work?
It probably work, but the thing is, it happens to other countries.
Yeah.
I believe, because I'm very focused with other countries as well. It happens in the Philippines that now back then it was dominated by both parties, but now the president became like a different party. Happened in Mexico. It used to be just like two dominated parties. Now the two current presidents are actually in a different party. It will happen. The problem that we need to do right now is we need to make sure that if they're going to start a new party rather than Republican and Democratic Party, we need to be united because we have an INP, but they're not united. I
Sure,
don't think there's
sure.
a lot of people that likes their ideas.
Yeah.
We have the Libertarian, which is like, I don't know, it's kind of like a Republican Party's hated son or something like that. We need to create a party that actually free thinkers. You're nonpartisan because you're not, you're a free thinker. You don't think of what other parties telling you. You actually have to analyze which one is good for you and which one's gonna work.
But I have so much respect for you in the fact that I think there are a lot of Republicans out there that maybe feel ostracized by the Republican Party, but yet they're afraid to move to being an independent or even a Democrat. You're not afraid to do that. You don't care. You're just going by how you feel. And
I didn't care, and let me
Yeah.
tell you something. When the moment that I registered as a nonpartisan, I have a lot of interviews for debate for the Republican Party. I
interesting.
get an email, canceled. And my campaign manager goes like, well, wait a minute, your bylaw says that you guys welcome nonpartisan because you guys
They
welcome
don't.
judges.
They're full of crap.
And
Yeah,
they canceled
they don't.
it. So
They
I said,
don't.
that's fine. You know what? If you guys going to play that way, that's fine.
That's the way they are. But look at the leadership. I want to ask you with the Republican Party. We've already talked about nationally. I want to ask you locally. Mike McDonald, I know this fake electorate scheme was thrown out of court because of a jurisdictional issue. It's going to be refiled, and they're going to be held accountable. Jesse Law, a Republican from Clark County, who has had legal problems of his own recently. These are the leaders of your party. Not anymore, not your party, excuse me. Sigel Chada. I had Aaron Ford in studio. Really nice man. Democrat, really nice man as the Attorney General. Sigel Chada, who's a Republican, said that he should be hanging from a pole. These are leaders within the Republican Party still. To me, it's just an embarrassment.
The problem is like there's a lot of good Republican candidates out there. And some of them are
I agree.
actually my friends.
Yep.
The problem, but if as a party, kind of like, when we were kids, like our parents tells us that, like if you hang out with a bad crowd, that's what people think about you. Because, even though you're not, if you hang around with a bunch of kids.
Well, it's true, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So now
yeah.
I put myself in there. Why would I be at the party that don't think you claim to be conservative, but your words in your mouth coming out foul and not, because conservative people doesn't say things that way.
Before Trump, I would agree with you.
Right?
After
If you're
Trump, it
conservative-
seems to be acceptable these days. I don't understand why.
And now that promotes hate.
Right.
And as a minority, and my kids are minority, we're trying to build a better America.
You're so right.
But if we're gonna build a better America, then we need to stop doing that bashing,
You are
talking
so
bad to
right.
each other. That's not the America that I want my kids to grow up.
I wish I would hear more people say what you just said. I could not agree with you more. I ask people, forget about Joe Biden for a moment. I ask people, how can you look in the mirror and look at your kids? You know, this man attacking women based on looks, attacking immigrants, attacking everybody that disagrees with him, suckers and losers in our military. I say, if you don't want to vote for Joe Biden, I say, fine. I understand that if you're a Republican. But how can you vote for this guy? That's what I don't understand. But I want to go rapid questions with you because I want to, since you're running for Congress, I want to ask you your opinions on some issues. The number 2 issue in the country is abortion. So let's start with that. As running as an independent, 60% of the country believe that a woman has the right to choose. What are your thoughts on the abortion
Okay,
issue?
and I think you asked me that question 2 years ago. Okay,
Yep.
and as a devoted Catholic, of course we don't believe in abortion, but as a father with 2 daughters, okay, I want to, as a congressman, I cannot do anything about abortion. You know that. Neither does your governor here, Joe Lombardo.
Yep.
Because here in the state of Nevada, it's the state legislature have to pass that in order for it to be changed. But my personal perception of abortion is, of course, incest. You can have abortion with incest, rape, and health of the mother. I would even go maybe the first trimester because
Okay.
a woman doesn't get up in the morning and says, "I'm going to be pregnant today."
Right. Correct. Yep. Yep.
And I want that choices for my daughter because I have
Sure.
2 daughters.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yep.
The only thing that I don't like about abortion, and I'm gonna say it out loud, I don't like it because a mother knows that they don't want to keep the baby, but the health providers that tell them we have to wait a little bit longer because if we do it on a late abortion, they can charge the insurance company more money, which is the Medicare, the Medicaid, and this other insurance.
Luckily, that's a small percentage, but I do agree with you. We don't. Most Americans do not agree with late-term abortion.
Yeah, I don't agree in late term abortion.
Gotcha.
If a woman, because it's hard to be a parent.
Sure.
It's hard, especially a single mother. Especially, I think we should put something about those fathers out there that if you're not gonna do anything, because it takes 2 to tango.
Yep.
She didn't make that herself. They need to be responsible as well.
I think that's a very fair position, and I think what you just said is where most of the country is right now, to be quite honest with you. We can have our own personal opinions, but we all agree for the most part late-term abortion is disgusting unless it's the health of the mother. We all agree that if a young girl or woman is raped or the victim of an incest, she should be able to make her own decision. And whether it's the first trimester, early on, a woman should be able to
They
decide.
already know. The
Yeah.
woman already know that, hey, you know what? I'm not
Yeah.
gonna keep this baby.
Right.
And
Right.
the thing is, like, it's a choice. It's hard to be a parent and raising a family and doing all these right things for children. I don't want to see those kids running around, and you've seen this, like, they the state taking them because they're
horrible.
putting them on cage.
Yeah, that's
Why do you
horrible.
have kids when you're trying
Absolutely
to put this kids in cages?
Absolutely terrible. So for the most part, I agree with you on everything you said. I think it's a very fair. I think most of the country would. I want to ask you about guns. As you know, Ron, in our backyard, the biggest mass shooting in American history. Republicans seem to think that more guns make us safer. I think that's absurd. Democrats do not want to take all your guns away. They just want some stronger laws on the books, and I think we all could probably agree the laws that are already on the books need to be enforced. What are your thoughts on guns?
Well, as I have a CCW, so I think that we cannot abolish the second rights because the Second Amendment that's a given Americans' right. Okay, we all have to protect
Sure.
ourselves because we all know what happened if the people don't have any guns.
Sure.
But this is what I want to do federally. I want to make sure that if we're giving out guns, they do a thorough background check. Have you heard a lot of people with CCW actually shooting people? You don't
Usually
because
not.
we have proper training.
Yeah.
Right.
But when an 18-year-old can just walk into a gun store and buy thousands of rounds of ammunition in an AR-15 with zero training, I have a serious problem with that.
That's absolutely. That's why I was telling people, and a lot of Republicans may disagree with this with me.
Yeah.
I want to have a background check, and I want education for gun safety because you know what, the kids, even though you buy that gun, some kid,
Yeah.
they're getting bullied at work. They're gonna take that gun, but if you have a gun safety, you know how to protect that. You know how to talk to your kids about the safety of the gun. I remember when I was a kid, my father owns a gun. We're 7 years old. I never touched his gun because what happened is he took me gun shooting. He educated me that, you know what,
Sure.
this thing can kill.
Mhm.
It took out the curiosity out of me. Just like having a swimming pool. We teach
Mm-hmm.
our kids how to swim. And rather than telling them, don't swim, then what the heck you have a swimming pool
Yeah.
for? I think that's what we need to be.
Better training.
Yeah, we need to better education. We need to
Sure.
educate people. All right. If you're gonna buy a gun, then you're responsible for it. You
Yeah.
need your training. You need to make sure it's safe.
I agree with everything you're saying. One of my biggest criticisms of the Republican Party of many these days, but one of them is you hear a lot of these people running for office. You know what I'm talking about.
I know that.
They brag about their A+ rating from the NRA, and you never hear a Democrat bragging about their grade of the NRA. And I believe there are some Republicans out there that care more about their NRA rating than actually the safety of the American people. I truly believe that.
To me, it's the safety of American people. Everybody have rights to own gun, but please make sure that we're not giving guns to people that's psychotic, that's
Agree.
gonna do a mass shooting,
Yes.
which is gonna hurt our neighborhood, and also educate the parents that make sure they keep their guns, so that's why the kids do not take it and even just lose their curiosity.
Agree. National story. I want to get your thoughts on this because it's about immunity.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, what the Supreme Court ruled the other day, a lot of people find it to be absurd and ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I do. What do you make of this? Do you think a president should have any form of immunity, or what are your thoughts on the way?
I believe the president cannot be above the law.
Mhm.
But when I was reading it, it says actual and it sounded like a lawyer wrote it.
Yeah,
Kind of like
it's a bunch of
you're in
crap.
the middle, right?
Yeah.
So he can get if he's sitting as a president and he committed a crime, but something about like if he's not sitting, if it's a sitting president, but it's a different
Right.
actual. So
Official
I think,
business. Yeah.
I think it's
Offici-
I
official
think thi-
act is
I
what
think
the-
this. I think what the Supreme Court did is practically they kind of like let them worry about it.
Give Trump a pass so
Le-
that
y-
this case won't come forth.
Yeah, have you guys battle each other in
Yeah,
court?
I agree. I think that's what I just think it's absolutely absurd. What do you make of the fact of what took place on January 6th and then today, where Trump still can't admit that he won the election, attacks on our democracy? The fact that he won't own anything and won't admit that he lost. And we hear a lot of Republicans talk about election integrity, but yet after Trump won in 2016, I didn't hear any Republican talk about that.
Well, that's always happened. If you lose, people always say that they got cheated. And the thing is, I investigated that when we had that
Mhm.
interview,
Sure.
and
Yep.
of course, like there's a company called WinPack
Mhm.
that investigated that as well, and they said that they did not find any fraud.
Widespread voter fraud, yeah.
Voter. It just happens to be this what they said word for word because I was sitting there. You guys just didn't have a good candidate. Because Laxalt didn't win, but Lombardo did.
True.
You didn't have any good candidate that the nonpartisan like,
Agree.
and they rather vote none of
But they don't
none of
wanna
this
say
candidate.
That. But they don't want
right?
to say that. They won't own it. I agree with you. They just want to blame the elections on it, right?
No, the thing is like what I've lost before, and I've lost money on a business before. In order for you to be successful, you need to admit, what did you
You're
do
so
wrong,
right. It's-
admit fault, and then maybe you can do better next time.
Such a good point. Just like business, right? If a business fails, you're a successful businessman, but
You
not
already
every,
know it failed.
not every one of your businesses have worked.
Absolutely.
You got to learn from your mistakes. Same thing with a campaign.
Same thing with
thing with an
politics.
election. And by the way, that's why I think Hillary would win this time around because she made a lot of mistakes in 2016. You are so right on that. So many other platform issues to talk about here locally and nationally. Let me ask you about student loan debt. That's a big topic of discussion. What do you think of what Joe Biden is doing when it comes to student loan forgiveness?
Well, he can't do that because the president cannot do that. Still have to be.
He's trying. He's
act of
trying,
Congress.
yeah.
But this is what I would do if I'm your congressman. This is the way I would do it. If you have a student debt, okay. When I graduated, of course, I had Jack in the Box already, so they're paying me a lot of money. I just have to stay there for 4 years to get something better, right? But that's not the case with other students. They get out of school, they have all this debt, they can't pay it because they don't make enough money. What about if we come up with a plan that more like give them a little bit like 5 years, let them get on their feet, maybe put them in a little interest, make a little payment rather than $500, maybe $50 a month. Then after 5 years, reevaluate their situation because usually they get promoted, so now they can put a little bit more money.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Because what happened, the reason that there's people's debt because they can't pay, just like having a credit card. If I can't pay
Right.
my credit card,
Right.
then I'm not gonna pay
So
it.
don't necessarily get rid of all the debt,
No,
but do not charge them an
give
arm
them a
and leg.
hand. Yeah, give them a hand because
Yeah.
a regular student, like a person that graduated Harvard, they have all this student loan, but they cannot get a well-paying job because either first they're overqualified, second they're too expensive. So let them do that, or there's a better option. Why don't join the military? Join the military, do a Peace Corps. You
Yeah.
do it for 4 years, but forgive your student loan.
What about affirmative action?
Affirmative action. I don't believe in affirmative action because I believe that you should get in with your abilities. Because I got in with my abilities. They didn't say, "Oh, you know what? We need a Filipino, I think, in this roster, so we're gonna get him."
Fair enough. No, I'm with you. A lot of people feel that way. Gay marriage. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought what we're still talking about. Government has to stay away from the bedroom.
Agree.
I think we're already past that. And that's like a 10 years ago problem that they can
But the attacks on transgenders, the attacks on the LGBT community, indoctrination they claim of our kids. I'm sure there's a few teachers out there that are doing inappropriate things, but the overwhelming majority of teachers, in my opinion, are not indoctrinating our kids.
what they're doing is practically it's a bunch of politicians that get together and they thinking what is right, so they avert the people about the problem. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about the gas prices. Let's talk about the my Southwest gas overcharged me triple this month. Let's talk about those things rather than talking about this.
The real issues. But I agree with you. And 10 years ago, if you had asked me, Brian, what's the Republican platform? While I may not have agreed with it, I could have at least expressed it. Okay, this is what Republicans stand for. I feel like today, that's all they talk about. They talk about gender ideology. They talk about banning books. They talk about Obamacare and how much they hate it, but there's no replacement plan. The scare tactics. I don't feel like, as a whole, Republicans have enough or really any solutions to bring the country forward. Just in today's world.
I agree with you on that because that's why I was when I decided to run as a nonpartisan, I'm here to run for office
Right.
so we can make changes. We
Right.
can make actually laws that make sense. Because some people go like, oh, no tax for tips. Okay, how are you gonna do that? Oh well, I don't know. I never had a tip in my life.
Yeah.
How are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
Well, some people will be like, oh, I'll give it to you for free. But obviously Trump said that. But the head of the culinary union goes, I'm
Well-
not going to support that because how's he going to do it?
First of all, why didn't he do it when he was president? Number one. Number two, don't you find it interesting, Ron, that in this being Las Vegas, in that type of tipping type town, service industry town, that he just happens to bring it up in Las Vegas?
Of course.
I think he's full of garbage.
But he
It's
doesn't
garbage.
know that there's 6 million people that actually rely on tips nationwide.
Yeah, the amount of money too that the government would be losing would be astronomical. Give me some other points that you want to bring out to these people that want to learn more about you, about things you want to change if you become the next congressman.
Well, first of all, I want to take care of the military a lot more. I was talking. I employed military. So one of my my employees, he's a disabled veteran, and of course, his son even got shot on a live TV serving Afghanistan. I think one thing that we need to do with the veterans, we need to make sure that they can live independently. We need to bring back mental health in services here in Nevada, and when they're veterans that are actually disabled veterans, when the funeral cost services is free, but the open and ending, kind of like when you open the soil to bury them and you close it, there's fees on that. We got to give it to them for free. They serve this country.
I
They
agree.
got hurt serving this country.
Agree.
And second of all, those people also that veterans that served 20 years, they might be working as an accountant or an HR or a judge. When they get out of the military, they have to pay taxes on their pension. Why are we charging them pension and their taxes when they already served this country for 20 years.
I agree.
You know,
That's
none of
terrible.
us served. I didn't serve the military. I think they deserve their taxes to be free as well.
I agree 100%.
They don't need to get
Yeah.
shot in order for them
Yeah.
not to pay taxes.
Completely agree with you.
They served this country already, you know, and we have to give them, you know what? We have to give them some leeway. Say, you know what? Don't pay. You know, we're not going to charge you any taxes on the
Yeah.
retirement that you have, because the retirement that they're getting is a little bit small, and they still need to go. You know, work somewhere else, so that's why they can
I
sustain
don't
their
see how
life.
anybody could disagree with that.
Yeah. What about Social Security? The way the Social Security works. Couples that actually, if you make more than your Social Security amount, your Social Security get taxed 80%. Why? These people work for 40 years, and then they have, of course, a pension plan.
Yeah.
If they have a $40,000 Social Security and their pension plan is $80,000, guess what? They're gonna tax 80% of that $40,000.
Yeah.
So why? Why can't we get that free and just tax them on the 80?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I don't understand that either, but this sounds like you're bringing up very common sense issues.
And-
but
and-
Republicans and Democrats can't come together.
Yeah, and a lot of people are gonna say, "Hey, Ron, when you become a congressman, you know, what are you gonna do? You know, what they're gonna do? First of all, they're not gonna give you the key in the elevator, so you're gonna walk. You know, you're gonna take the stairs, which is like 29 floors." And I said, "Well, you know what? I'm doing that in my office now, so I'm actually well trained to do that."
I like that.
Second of all, they're not gonna give you an office,
Right.
Because you know, like they said, Joe
Right.
Heck, the first time he's a congressman, you know, he lives in his his office for like 3 months. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a megaphone, even though they're not. You know, I'm gonna make sure that they will hear us. And if they don't, I'm gonna go back to the show and tell them that, you know, this Congress people didn't agree with all these changes that were making America the best it could be, and maybe you can, you know, maybe their constituents were outvote them the next election.
I love that. Or one of you, I have to ask you this, being Filipino, or one of your heroes, Manny Pacquiao. I mean, this is a man that has boatloads of money, but he's done so much for your people, and now, you know, a politician. Is that one of the people that you admire very much?
Yeah, you know, the problem is, like, you know, back then nobody knows what we are, you know. I think when I was like in high school, they thought we're Mexicans. And I'm pretty sure you heard that too.
Yes.
Right? Because, you know, when I was in high school, they called
Yeah.
me Mexican for a very long time. But you know what? Manny Pacquiao actually put our people globally. That now
Yeah.
everybody, like, I went to let me tell you a perfect story. I went to Paris with my wife, and they asked me, you know, I know you're from the state, but you know, what's your ethnicity? And I said, oh, I'm Filipino. Oh, Manny Pacquiao. So by him doing that, that
Sure.
kind of like, you know, put our, you know,
Put you
put
guys
our
on the
race
map, yeah.
in the globe, and not only in the map, in the globe.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. What about put us in the globe as a politician, the first Filipino American naturalized
Pretty
citizen
cool. Yeah.
here? Because you know what? I think it's time. I think our people need to start going to the political arena, because there's a lot of us.
I agree.
There's a lot of us. There's 6 million of us.
You know, I want to see, and I'm being honest when I say it, I want to see less people that look like me. I want to see more people that look like you, because we are so diverse in this country. And guess what? That's the way it should be. Okay? It shouldn't be make America great again. It should be make America diverse.
Yeah,
That's what it
America.
should be.
America's already great, but what
Yeah.
we need to do, that's why a lot of people, you know, move and die just to come in this country. America's great already, but we need to make it better. And I think this is an opportunity for us to make it better, not only for us, but I'm talking about the generation to come. Because you know what? I have young kids. I want them to be living in a better America.
Sure.
Because America's already great. Hey, I'm their product, right?
Yeah.
They should promote that.
100%. You
I'm
know,
an immigrant. This is an American dream living it.
100%.
This is a product.
And I will continue to go on the air every single day and look for more people like you out there. You know, I said this 2 years ago because I liked you when I met you 2 years ago. You know,
I hope you still like me. But
I do. Well, I'm saying this because I'm honest on the air, unlike some other people on the air that I won't mention. But, you know, I liked you when I met you 2 years ago. I said you sounded more like a moderate Republican or someone in the middle. And, you know, nobody has ever paid me in my 20-year radio career for an endorsement. I've endorsed certain people because I like them, because I think they're good people, not because they pay me. And I absolutely, you know, would support you to be the next congressman, because I think, number one, and this is the way I vote. Anybody who knows me, I said the same thing about John Lee when he was in the studio. I did.
Yeah.
I vote for people that I think are good people. And I know that you're a good husband, you're a good father, you're a successful businessman, You're an honorable person. And I like you even more now that, to be honest with you, that you left the Republican Party. Because I didn't even know that about you until recently, by the way. I don't know when you made this decision, but I didn't know that about you until recently, that you're now nonpartisan, which I get along with people that are nonpartisan. I really do, more than people that are, whether they're Democrat or Republican, that are willing to take an issue and not worry about whether they have an R or a D next to their name, but just look at an issue and take it for what it is. And listen, I'm for border security. I'm for capital punishment. Okay, but I'm also for equality.
Yeah.
I want to give women the right to choose. But I just think that's so important. It's kind of like the issue of, yeah, I've been to Black Lives Matter protests. I'm not for the organization. I'm for the movement, but I'm also pro-police, right? I don't think every police officer is a racist. I think most cops are honorable heroes. I think that's where we need to get in this country, and that's why I would support, and I will support and vote for somebody like you, because I believe we need more people like you. Diversity we need. We need people that know how to make money in business. We need people that are honest, good family people. Those are all the qualities that I want in a politician. And, that's my feeling.
And that's what we need, because if not, and also we need to put, I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this, but I think we need to put term limits in Congress.
100%.
Because,
100%,
people that's been sitting there for so long, and you have
Supreme Court.
You have to poke them with a stick in order for them to vote. We need people in Congress that actually, I would probably say, make up the population now, which is the new America, the new and better, the America 2.0. Since we're
forget about Congress, Supreme Court too. I agree with you. There needs to be term limits everywhere.
Everywhere, because if we have that in precedent, we have that. We need to put term limits.
People need to be held accountable. How could they be held accountable if they're in there forever?
You cannot be there like 90 years old, and and I have nothing against it. I don't care if you're 100 years old, but if you're doing your job and you're still intact with your constituents, more power to you.
Agree.
But if you're not, you're even missing votes. You don't even come to a town hall. Then you need to be replaced, because you don't know what's the makeup of your community.
This is becoming very uncomfortable. I'm agreeing with almost everything my guest is saying. That's very rare. So I don't know if I like that, Ron, but I'm agreeing with almost everything. I want to give you an opportunity to give out your website, how people can learn more about you. Obviously, you're going to be coming on this show more often, which I think is awesome, and giving your perspective, which I think is a great one. But give that information, how people can find you on your website, can learn more about you, can donate to your campaign.
Absolutely. For the listeners and your great listeners, my name is Ron Quince, and I will be your first nonpartisan congressman in District 1. If you're a Republican voter or you're a registered Republican, ask yourself, 2022 is calling. You know the result on that. Your candidate lost. If you're a Democrat, ask yourself, what does Dina Titus have done for you lately? All my nonpartisan voters, now you have a voice, because in Nevada, every voice matters. So I humbly ask for your vote this coming election. There's a 3-way for you to vote now, because people don't know. First, you can mail in your ballots. Okay, don't be afraid that's not going to get counted.
Don't listen to Trump.
Believe me, it's going to get counted.
Yep.
Okay, so it should come to your house probably more like October 15. So make sure you get that ballot, vote for the person, sign it, seal it, mail it back, or drop it off to anywhere before November 15. Because I don't want you guys just having your ballot just sitting in your counter. Okay, but in order for you to make sure that it's accurate, check your voter registration. Make sure that you haven't moved and they're sending it to the right place. Second, early voting start on my birthday, which is October 19. You can vote any voting pool. As a matter of fact, if you're not a registered voter, you can register and vote at the same day. Okay, so exercise that right. And last but not the least, of course, November 5th, you can go to your your polling location. If you don't know that, you can check it in my website that directs you to the Nevada Secretary of State, so you can find out where's the location for you to vote. And if you're interested on volunteering or maybe making a $15 donation in my campaign, see, I'm not asking for a lot. I'm only asking for $15, because $15, because my last name is spelled Quince. Yeah. So Quince for
it's
Quince.
Jack in the Box meal.
Absolutely. I want you guys to make a donation of $15 in my campaign. You can do that at ronquincefornevada.com. So 15 in Spanish is Quince. So I think that's not going to be hard to forget. And of course, follow us in social media. Ron Quince, Ron Quince, Ron Quince, Ron Quincy. They're all spelled the same.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be any problems this time. And if you forget all of that stuff, you can also call me Ron Q.
Ron Q.
And
I've
that's
done that
trademark.
before.
And that's trademark. Okay, nobody can be Ron Q ever again here in the whole country and in the whole
I've
world.
done that before. I've called you Ronnie Q before on the air. I've done
Yeah.
that before. Well, Ron, thank you so much for being here.